Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream. This will be a joint stream. Let me bring on my buddy Christoph. And there he is.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Freek.
Hey, Christoph. How are you doing? Having a good day?
Yeah, I actually have. Feeling good. It was a little spontaneous being here, but I think we'll come to that later. But yeah, I think it was a nice idea. So thank you for inviting me. And yeah, I hope we have some people listening and asking questions. And yeah, looking forward to the next 1 or 2 hours, however it may take.
Yeah, I only have 1 hour. So before the
Okay.
little humans enter my home, so let's try to do it
Let's
in one
push it.
hour.
Okay, yeah.
To give the audience a little bit of context, I saw Christoph mentioning a new package that he has been working on, and I'm working on a new package myself. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to just show each other like the internals of our package and just share it with all of you? So yeah, we can all learn a little bit and from the code that we just wrote. So we have in the stream two packages, to show to you. So Christoph, do you want to go as like the first one here as the guest?
Yeah,
You
should
have
I
the
start?
honor of going first. Yeah, just what have you been building?
Yeah, so I've been live streaming the last 1 or 2 months, and I've been working on this refactoring PHP platform where people can share code and then others can provide their opinion on the code and say, hey, your code looks good, but maybe we can write it like this, and this could be a better improvement to the code regarding of simplicity or other terms that you want to refactor, so other goals that you have with this refactored version of the code. And while working on this package, I was working on this application, I was working a lot with Livewire, and I ran into some, I wouldn't say issues, but there are some things while testing that I didn't like about how I've seen people testing Livewire and about the functionality that it's providing. And I was thinking about a way how we can do this better. And in the streams, I was talking to other people, and we found some interesting solutions to that, and now pack this all up in a little package, and that's what I want to show you today.
Cool. Yeah, I'm eager to see what kind of things that you've added to test Livewire and how it works under the hood. So by all means, share your screen.
Yeah, cool. Let's go. As I mentioned, it was really spontaneous. So I've tried to come up with a little application to give you a little bit of insight into why we came up with those ideas. And I hope this will help you to give you a little bit perspective. So let me share my screen with you. It's this one.
Boom.
Can you already see it?
Yep. Everything in order.
Switch to my IDE,
PHP Storm. What an amazing IDE, right?
Yeah.
And good that there are like amazing courses on there as well that you can just learn everything about it and style
so
it.
So cool, right?
Yeah, PHP, masteringphp.com.
Masteringphp.com, yeah. I released the last videos last week, so I'm thinking about doing some more, but these were the videos that I planned to do, so I'm really happy that I pushed them now all out and that it's kind of ready and finished. So just a little side note here.
Cool.
Okay, but back to the situation here. So we have here a Livewire component. It's called feedback form for a little feedback form that you might need in your application. And it's really simple. We have this view that we use, and we have this send method where we just call an endpoint, which we don't have, which is not given, but we don't care. It's just about the idea of this component here that we have. And then I have a test for this component. So feedback form test, and this is where I check if it really sends feedback. And this is what Livewire comes with. You can spin up this new instance where you can set stuff and you can call stuff, and you can also do some assertion or in this case, later here, I'm checking if one request was being sent. So again, this is just a little demo, but yeah, this is working. Let me just run this again so that you can see this all good now. But still, when I now go to my page here, you probably have seen it already, the page is still empty. So inside my route file, so what I've done, I've only included the feedback page. And if I go here, it's just a copy of the level welcome view. And here I only have my headline. So I don't have the package included, the component, the LiveWire component included yet. So of course, it doesn't make sense to have all these tests from my component, but I'm not sure if the component is given on the page. So first, it's important to make sure that this component is given on the page. And again, by building refactoring PHP, we did everything TDD first. So we wanted to write a test always first to make sure that everything is working as expected. And we can write a test for this as well. So I also have a test for my feedback page here, which is empty. So let's create a new test here. And let's say it contains feedback from LiveWire components like this. And now let's get rid of this. So what we can do with LiveWire or with Laravel, we can make a call to our page, and then we can make an assertion that we see our LiveWire component. So this still comes with LiveWire itself, so nothing new here. It's called assert see LiveWire, I think. From what I heard, we soon will get some auto-completion with the Laravel idea plugin for these things as well, because this is one of the methods being added through a macro. So I hope we have this tool, because this would be really nice. Mm-hmm. And the component that we want to use is called feedback form. Yeah, but we get already autocomplete here. This is nice as well. Okay, let's run this. And it should fail because we cannot find this component, which is true because we haven't added it yet. So let's get here and let's add our feedback form. It's this one here. And now when we get back here, run our test again, it's now passing, and this is good. So we've now made sure that not only our LiveWire component is working with its features inside the component, but we've now also made sure that this component is given on a specific page where we use them, because it makes no sense to have the test for the component if you're not made sure that this component is actually being added to a specific view. But again, nothing fancy here. This is what you can do with LiveWire itself. Okay, but when we go here and refresh the page, everything is still not working, so we don't see anything yet. And these are actually demos of issues I really ran into. So we created per TDD a component, and we tested everything, and it should work, but we don't see anything. And the reason for that is pretty simple. So if we go to our feedback form component view, so that's the view of our component, it's empty. So we've made sure that the component is working, but the component itself, the view, is empty. So nothing is in here. So that's why, you can't see anything. So actually, it's not working like we thought so. Okay, so what can we do about this? Let's go back to our test of our LiveWire component. So let's create here a new test. And let's call it it contains wired properties and methods in view. And the view, something like this. So we want to make sure that we really have something inside our view. And now I messed this up here, but this is called feedback form. Here we go. And then what we already can do in LiveWire is we can make an assertion like assert we see something. So we could make an assertion that we see like the message label. So this means now inside our view file, we could get rid of this. create a new label. Let's call it message label. Let's get back here, refresh it, it works. And yeah, this way, of course, we can make sure that we now have this label on our page. But as always, checking against text is not that ideal because it can change. And yeah, while working on our application, I thought there must be a better way. And I thought about that's not really what I wanted to test, because I don't want to make sure that I see a specific test. And I and other people, Adrian, Gerd here, and Benjamin, a few other people from my streams, we were thinking about what is the actual thing that we want to test here. And I want to make sure that the properties and the methods that I use inside my components are wired to some HTML tags inside my view components. Because if this is not the case, then our view and our form is not working. So this is why we came up with a new assertion called assert property. I have to think about the name every time. I think it's assert property wired. Let's give this a try. And
Christoph, this is coming from your package now, assert property wired.
Yeah, sorry. So that's the first method. Now, the first thing that I show you, which is coming from a new package, I will show you in just a minute. So let's try this test and see what we get here. Yeah, so now we're searching for a string called wire model message. Again, it's very simple right now. This package inside our view, and this is not given. So this means we need to go back to our view file of the component, of the LiveWire component, and now I'm going to add an import, and let's connect it to our message property. This is how I would do this. We would have an input field and we'll connect it to the message property from the LiveWire class. And now if we run this again, this should be working now. And it does. And this now tests exactly what I want to make sure of, that I have something in my view file that is connected to the property, which I'm going to set in my test. So if we go back to the form tests, already here. So here we're making sure that we set the message. And it's not enough to set this inside the class. We also need to make sure that we can set this inside the view as well. So this is why I needed something like this. But we haven't stopped here. So we also added one for methods. So assert method wired. Now this method is called submit. Again, we run this test so that we can easily see what we're looking for. So now we're looking for this wired click for the submit method. And again, now we can go back to our form here. Let's add a button like this and connect it to the submit method, which we have inside our class. So again, we now refresh this here. Now you can see this is also passing. So this way we have made sure that not only the component itself is working, but it's working in combination with the view file, and that we have a property message here that is connected to the property inside the class, and also that the method inside the class is connected to a specific field or button inside your view file. Okay, I have two more little things. Do we still have time, Freek?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No problem.
Perfect.
Take all the time you need.
So, and this was the first thing that I ran into, to make sure that from beginning to end, the kind of life cycle of my LiveWire components are being tested. First, is this component on a specific page where I want to use it? Then is the component working with the component's LiveWire tests, which are already given? But then also if the class and the view file are correctly being connected. But soon later with refactoring PHP, we ran into another little issue. And the issue was that we were using LiveWire components inside a LiveWire component. So then you have to think, how do we test this now? Again, how this component is working itself, we have a dedicated test for this, but now we want to make sure inside this component here that we make use of another component. So this is why we had to come up with another assertion. So let's add another test here real quick. It contains, so the new component is for the feedback categories. It contains categories for feedback form wire component. We might end up with a better name, but for now, I will keep it like this. So, and the class is again our feedback form. And now this new test method is called assert contains livewire component. And now this new component, the name is categories, feedback categories here, and we're providing here the class name. All right, let's run this test. And it's failing because we are now looking for this livewire component. And as you can see also with this other failing test, currently we're just checking for a very simple string for the component tag. So in this case, it's this livewire feedback categories tag, and it's not given. So let's get back to our view file. Nope, not this one. Yeah, here we go. And now let's add our categories. Livewire component like this, and now we should already get a passing test. And we do, so that's really nice. And the last thing that we also added here is we also ran into cases where we were using blade components inside livewire components. And again, I always want to make sure that those components are given inside these other few where you want to use it. So this means we also added one for this. So let's copy this here to make this a little bit faster. It contains button blade component. And now we also only need to change here to assert contains blade component. And this new component is also something that we already have. And it's this button component here. Okay, again, it should fail. Again, we should see here what our test is looking for. This is not given. So again, let's go back to our form the last time, and now we change here our button to, now I messed this up. So like this here. So now we're using a blade component for our button, and now this test should pass as well. Okay, so these were the situations that I ran into when testing my livewire components from a very TDD approach, where I really wanted to make sure that, yeah, everything that I use inside my livewire components, but also to make sure that those components are being given on specific pages or inside a livewire component. And for me, this was a really nice way to make sure that I can test this, also with some nice helper methods that really explain what we want to do. Again, of course, we could also do something like assert C, assert CHTML, where we check some HTML, but if we can provide a better API, we always should, and that's what we aimed for in this project, and that's why we came up with this little package here. Let me real quick show this to you as well. Oh, and by the way, now we should see here, yeah, our feedback form, which is pretty simple, but at least we can see it, or the user can see it. Okay, so here we go. Yep, so that's the package. It's called missing-livewire-assertions. I just submitted a first release today, earlier before the stream. So thank you, Freek, for pushing me into this first release here.
My pleasure.
And, yeah, and as you can see, I'm just provides this new assertions for livewire. 4 or 5 methods here. So it's pretty simple, but it helped me a lot with my applications. And yeah, I'm really interested in what other people think about it and how they test their livewire application. But I think it could be useful to, yeah, other people as well.
How does it work under the hood, Christoph? Can you show us that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we have here, let's do this already inside here. So it's pretty simple, as I mentioned. So we have this one mixing class. So mixing class is a class through which you can add multiple methods, like you would do with the macro method. But since we're adding multiple ones, we can do this now with this mixing class here. And here we're adding some methods to the, I think it's called test livewire testable. Let me just check real quick. So we have this inside our service provider here. So here we're going to load this mixing class. Yeah, so this test class from Livewire is called testable Livewire, and it holds all the assertions for Livewire, and we're just adding a few to them here. So
that's pretty cool. I haven't done that myself yet, so it's cool to see it in action here.
The mixing class, or
The
do you mean
mixing.
just? Yeah,
The
I was
mixing
also
class,
checking
yeah.
a few package of yours and how you have been dealing with that, and it was also nice. You had this kind of collection, and then you looped through every them. I think it was your macro package with all the macros that you use, yeah. But I think someone from the stream mentioned the mix-in helper, so I wanted to give this a try as well.
Yeah.
So. And as you can see here, I hope you can see this. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So we have those methods here that we're going to add here. And here we are just looking for very simple things. So assert string contains a string. And now we're searching for wire model and then the property which we are providing. So we already knew when we built this that there are a few edge cases where the string might be different. So you have some kind of options for some of the Livewire features that you use. But for now, this was a good first start. And we also welcome pull requests as well for those edge cases. But I think it's very easy to see how you can do this. And for me, the interesting thing about this is with the refactoring PHP package, I had the time and the people around me in the stream where I could stop at every point and say, okay, I'm not happy how we've been testing this or how this is being done. So what is the best way we could do this? And I had the time and people around to ask, okay, what would you do? Or what do you think about this approach? And most of my streams we were discussing 1 or 2 hours just about those specific things and think about what could be a nice solution. And things, a lot of stuff in Laravel is macroable. You can easily add those methods here, like we have done this myself. And this is pretty cool. Also here for the Livewire component, because the tricky thing here is also when you try to check for specific strings for a page that you load up, normally the components are already being rendered. So this means the typical tags like this one here, you don't see them inside the outputted HTML. So this means we had to think about some way to how we get this rendered views example here for Livewire, or here, where do we have this? Here we are also checking the last view and get the path and then search inside those files directly before they are actually being outputted. So this was quite interesting to see how we could achieve this, and this was a really fun project for us.
One more question. How do you test this package? Do you have some tests here?
Yeah, this was also interesting for me because I'm not writing too many packages. So there was also quite a few things that were new to me. So I'm testing this exactly like we've done it ourselves. So here, for example, checks if Livewire properties wire to a field. I have a Livewire component A in my package that I'm going to run, and then I'll make sure that it has a view where this property is wired. So it looks exactly the same as we have done this ourselves. And I just made sure that we have some Livewire components, that we have some blade components here, like here inside the package. So I had to check myself, okay, how do I add Livewire components inside my package? How do I add blade components inside my package? So you probably have this done already a few times, but this was the first time for me. So a lot that I could learn while providing my own package.
Yeah, the first time it's a little bit confusing. How can I do it? But I hope that by doing it like the first time, it feels very natural, right? Because it's more or less the same as you would do in your project.
I was also using your skeleton package the first time, and this was also really nice. And to see how things are possible, or the new thing that you did inside the service provider. Let me check this. Yeah, so here where you made this configure package method, and then you had like all these methods that you can use. Name has view, has database, migrations, and stuff like this. I also like this a lot. So good job on this as well, and thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, it just removes a little bit of the pain when you're working on packages. I think like Laravel methods are pretty good, but they're low level. You know, I had to register something like has views and to make them publishable that are like two separate calls. But it's nice to have like only one call because mostly you just want to do them both. And it's a little bit my hope that if enough people start using this, that maybe Laravel is interested to just add these methods to Laravel as well, so you don't need the package anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's also cool with us and our packages and the work that we do, because we're much more flexible than Laravel itself is. So Laravel just cannot change anything all the time, but we can try out stuff, and if it works out, then Laravel maybe thinks, yeah, maybe this is useful, or maybe Livewire thinks some of my methods, if a lot of people think that's useful, then maybe Livewire and Caleb will add some of those assertions as well. So I think that's pretty cool for us, but for them as well, because they see, okay, what are the things that people like, and then can adapt to that.
Yeah, we can validate their ideas without giving them like extra work beforehand, and they can just steal, borrow, grab whatever verb that you want to use to add it. And I think this is a perfectly valid way to just in some sort of way propose things to Livewire and Laravel itself. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about your package, Christoph, before we head into the second package, I guess?
Let me just make sure. I'm not sure if I told the name correctly, so you can find it under my name, Christoph Rumpel, on GitHub, and it's called missing-livewire-assertions. I'm going to post it on Twitter as well. So I would really appreciate people checking it out. Maybe they find some things we can do better, or they have some other ideas, or maybe they have some other approaches. I think it's a good base point to discuss Livewire testing, and I'm looking forward to that.
I'll also be sure to add that link to the comments below. So if you watch a replay, just look below the video for a link to Christoph's package.
Perfect.
Good. Then I guess it's my turn in the hot seat.
Yeah.
I also have made a small package. I made it last week, actually. Let me do a little bit of window management. I'm on the right resolution, and let's just share the screen. And Christoph, if you have any questions while I'm presenting, feel free to interrupt or ask questions, or make a joke, stand on the top of your head, whatever you like, start juggling around or something, do a trick, do whatever you like. Let me bring this down again. Okay, let's, how am I going to start this? Because I haven't rehearsed this at all. How are we going to start? Yeah. It's also a little bit of a small package, so we're going to go pretty fast. This one is called interacts with payload. And let's maybe go to GitHub and just take a look at what it's about. So it all started, let's go a little bit down, by me reading a blog post from James Brooks. Let's get to this. And what's the thing that he needs to do there? Well, he needed to inject a certain variable in all jobs of a project, and in this case, Forge, that probably everybody is familiar with. And he didn't want to just update all the jobs, because there are quite some jobs in the Forge application. And he wanted to add something globally. Like, I want to have like the logged in user that triggered this job available in all jobs. That's what he wanted to do. And yeah, he shared the code. It's actually a small snippet on how he did that. And I think it would be very, very nice if there was like a nice method to do that. And that's what I've built. So instead of that piece of code that you quickly saw in James' blog post, you can just do this. All jobs add the user. Which user? The authenticated user. And with that in place, you could have in your job, if you just use the interacts with payload trait, you can just grab the user off of it. And this will be the instance of the authenticated user that just grabbed this. That is like everything that the package does. I'll still have to fix this this image I see. And yeah, in the example,
where do you need to add this add method?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this can be done in like a package, in like a service provider or something like that, anywhere that you want. Probably the service provider. And now that I'm here, I'm going to fix a few things. I forgot to put a point here, and there's like even a syntax error here. Let's fix that right away like this. So this can go in a service provider. So you know what? That's already good feedback, Christoph. You've already helped me. Typically in a service provider. So that's a little bit more clear. And this is, of course, in the job itself that you can do this. And in the example above, I showed you that you can do it with the authenticated user, but you can do it with, whatever you want. Here's like an example with just a simple string. And it's basically a callable because this needs to be evaluated, right? For a string, it could have been like a raw string here, but for the authenticated user, the user might authenticate later than you have put this code. That's why it's a closure here. Let's see. I think that is basically everything that the package can do. So it's basically the same sort of package that you have built, Christoph, where you add some functionality that might be part of the framework, but you want to just test it out a little, if this idea would live, if people are finding this handy. Now let's dive.
Do you already have an idea where you could use this for your client projects or other project of yours?
Well, I can tell a lot about the project, but it's a little bit the same as what James is doing. He wants to have like the user everywhere available that triggered that job. That's the same use case that I'm having, and that's why I jumped on it, because I'm thinking if James needs to do this and I need to do this, probably other people need to do that as well, and let's make that as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Let's dive a little bit into the internals of this thing.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Here we have interacts with payload. Here's a beautiful new PHP Storm login screen or loading screen.
Yeah, somehow it loads longer on my side since I updated. I need to check this again, but it feels a little bit strange. I need to contact PHP Storm about that.
Yeah, is PHP Storm ever fast in booting? It feels always a little bit slow to me.
Yeah, for me, since the switch to the new M1 Apple, it felt much faster. So maybe that's why I also recognize if it is a little bit slower since the new update. But I did the update just today. Maybe I need to restart my computer, and then it will be fast as it gets again.
Fingers crossed for you, Christoph. that will help. The one bug that. Yeah, sorry? Go ahead.
Maybe today we'll see some new Apple iMacs maybe later today.
Oh, I totally forgot that was today. Oh, that's indeed a good thing to look forward to. That's in a couple of hours. I'm glad
Yeah.
we're doing the stream now and not at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, that's also why I asked about the time. So
Okay.
I would have mentioned it earlier because I want to watch it at 7 p.m.
Okay, let's go into
Yeah.
this package. You can see that it's very small. So we have that trait here that we saw being used. We have here a facade. We have a service provider, and also a real class all job. So I think I'm first going to explain how this works, and then maybe you will dive a little bit into the test, because I do a funny thing in the tests to make sure that this works. So maybe start with the service provider. And yeah, like your package, Christoph, I'm using the package service provider myself as well. I don't need any of the other options here, actually, because this package, it doesn't have like a config file or a migration or something. It's just pure code, really. And what we are going to do here is we are going to register a singleton. And I guess I should update this for Octane, because with Octane, it isn't a good idea to use singletons anymore, but I have to read up on that, on what I should use. I guess it's like using a binding here so I can get the application here, but I'm not sure. I'm going to look that up later. I'm aware that I should update that. And I'm going to add a singleton called all jobs. And I'm going to instantiate this all jobs class. And this is basically like an array on steroids, where we are going to keep what the user wants to add to the job. So if I go to the README again, here you can use the facade. So this is being directed at that all jobs class, and we are going to add something. And in that all jobs class, we just have an array add to payload, and we just keep it here. So here in this array, it's going to have a key. Let's go to the example, or maybe I should just use my hotkey so you can have it both at the same time. So here we will add a key user, and the value will be that callable. That will end up here. That's being done in this this add method. This add method, it actually accepts an array and a string, because you can also just do this. You can just do multiple things at once if you want. You can have like a user here, and maybe if you want to have like a team or something, you can have the function there. You can just add it in one go. That's why it's array and string here.
It's funny, Ian, while I was researching for my service container talk, I also heard from two people who said they were also using the service container for storing stuff that they might need, but they couldn't show me real examples. And I think it's interesting now that you showed this to me, because that's actually what you're doing, right? You're storing something in the service container that you maybe need and just inside a class, and then get this array out later.
Yeah, I think this is like a nice way to have like a global array, something, because I can just access this anywhere, but it's in the container. So that's what makes it clean. And this is a technique that I use a lot. I think you'll also see it in like event service provider, if you just register projectors or reactors, or that are certain classes that you need to reach out of in other parts of the code. And then I mostly do this like an array in the service container. So that's being set up here, so people can register stuff, and we can just get that all jobs from everywhere. And then the second part that we need to do is actually just inject that user. Let's just add it. Let's just show it again. So this user, it needs to be injected into every job. And how we do that is with a callable that we can register on the queue, and that callable is called create payload using. So all jobs in Laravel have a certain payload, and by default you don't really see that. That's something behind the screens, where like configuration, like how many times should I retry this job, is being kept, and that's all being kept in the payload. And also, the variables that you pass to a constructor of the job, they will get serialized to the payload. And what you can do is you can just add things to there if you want. So there's like a key in there, data, where like extra data can be kept. And it's actually really simple what we do. So we get that payload data, and we modify that payload data, and then we return that data. And that will hint to Laravel, hey, this should be the data of this job. And we just added some things to it. And what did we add to it? Well, we have on our all jobs thing where we registered what we need to be added. We have this function add all to payload data. And here we are just going to loop through every key that was added. So add to payload name, that's user. This is the closure that returns the user. Here we are going to just execute that closure. So this holds the actual user now. And then we are going to prepare it a little bit, because a user, of course, is an eloquent model, but you don't want to have like everything of the model in the payload, because that would make your payload very big. And that's being done in the get prepared value for payload. So if our raw value is a model, what are we going to do? Then we're not going to store the entire model, but we are going to store a value, and that's the ID of the model, and then the type, that's the class of the model. So it's basically a poor man serializes for jobs that's being done here. And we need this to retrieve the model, and we're going to see that in a bit. If it's not a model, then we're going to use like the same type of record, I guess I could say, where the value just holds the raw value and type is just nothing, meaning you should just use this value, don't try to cast it. Then let's maybe go to the second part, because now the job is constructed and it has like the extra things. But let's now discuss how this works behind the screen. So get from payload, so the other side of the coin. And people should use this interacts with payload trait. That's here. And you can see that it only has one public property, get from payload name. And it's actually quite simple how you can get to like the raw payload of a job inside of a job is to just call this job payload. And here you have like the entire raw payload. And here we can just go through all the data. And in the example that I've shown you, you see that you need to pass a key here, user. And of course, that matches with what we've given here. So here, this is the key user. So we are going to get the user here. If there's nothing in the payload, we're going to return null. And here, if it is something, we are going to do like the reverse casting. So this is a nice trick to destructure an array. So I want to have like the value of this array in the variable value. I want to have the type in the variable type. That's like a neat way.
I've seen this on Twitter. I think you shared it yesterday or
I think this is kind of neat. So, and that's why I tweeted it out indeed. And here you can see that if type, so this is like the class name as a string. If that is a model, you can do that with subclass of. Subclass of, you can just give it two strings and it will just say, hey, if these two are class names, and if this is that class or a subclass of that, then it will return true. Then we are going to say, use that class name, call the static method on it, find. So this is the user model class, and just find the value, which is the ID, and then you have like the model back. That's how that works. And then that's basically all there is to it. If this wasn't the model, then you just get the raw value back, which is exactly what we want. And that is basically all there is to it. But I think this is a much nicer way to go about this as a user than having to remember how to do this. To me, something like this feels much more natural to do.
Yeah.
Ideally, this would be something. This would be on the queue, right? Add to all jobs. This is probably, if it were in Laravel, maybe this would be like the native way to do it.
And I think it maybe end up there as well. So let's see. But I think we are, especially in the Laravel world, we're used to those nice APIs, and that's I think why we mostly always prefer such nice methods instead of the whole bunch that we need to go through and understand. And I think somehow this is now burned into our brains that we enjoy this now much more.
Yeah, our packages are really born out of the same idea and need to have like the better API, and as like a proposal, like this is how it could be handled.
Adrian had a comment about why you're not using find or fail when checking for the model. Might this be a nice addition?
So that would probably be here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me think. When you're providing a model in the first place, do you already know that it is given, so that's why you don't need to check it, or would there still be a case why it could fail because it is not given?
I think it could fail if you start maybe using this package, and at that point maybe you have some jobs that don't already have that user. And it could be valid to do find or fail here, but if you do fail, then you basically, let me go to the README. They are basically saying to users, hey, if you want to handle this, then you have to do like a try catch block around it, or do that missing models then delete it, which could be valid. But for me, it felt a little bit safer to just say to users like, hey, this returns what you expect, or it just returns null. And if it returns null, just do whatever you want. Maybe you want to throw an exception here, maybe not. And this feels a little bit like a lighter default way for users handling it. But I think it could be valid too if you would say, hey, the package always throws the exception and people should catch it if they wanted to. I don't think there's like a right or wrong here.
Yeah, for sure. And there are always kind of edge cases that you might think of. There was also another one where ID might not be the primary key, which innocent Masando said. So but I think when we create those packages in those early stage, we don't think too much about those edge cases, because if we would think about all of them, we probably wouldn't even finish the package in the first place. So that's also what I always like, to start very simple, make it work, and then go from there step to step and see what maybe could be a next issue or improvement.
Yeah, I think that's a valid approach. To just have like your core idea out there, and if people just want to handle edge cases, which can be handled in a nice way, they can propose it. Now, for that ID thing, I think that's like a valid concern that could be easily be solved. I think it just get key here, and this should work. And that's basically everything that I need to do to do this, I guess.
Like this.
Yeah. Maybe now that I've executed tests, maybe let's take a look at the tests.
Yeah.
Because there's like a nice thing going on there as well, a pattern that I'm using for other packages as well. Let's maybe go to the README one more time to see what we need to test. So what I really want to test is what I mostly like to test is not implementation, but really the results. So I don't want to test like, did I add something to the Laravel queue to the payload? I'm really not interested in that. What I'm interested in is, if I call this, is this available inside? If I call this method, will I get that back? And how it does that really doesn't interest me. It interests me. That's implementation. I don't want to test that. I want to test behavior. So I need to wait to, from a test, know when a job is queued, what this is going to return. And it's actually not that difficult to do that. Let's go to the job. So what I'm doing here in this job, and I'm going to explain this a little bit later, is I'm going to use the package as a package user. So I'm going to do all jobs. I want to add something extra. Then I'm going to dispatch the job. And then I want to assert if I get what I'm expecting, right? And I'm doing something funny here. And the key is by looking in test job. What is being done here is that the test job, it will execute a closure that I've set statically on the test case. So let's go back to the job here. So what am I doing here? On the test case, in this test, I'm saying like the closure that is being evaluated inside of this, of that will be evaluated inside the job. It is this. So wait, let me show you this first. So this closure, it will actually, the job will actually pass itself to the closure. So here I have the actual job on the payload, and then because I have the job here, I can just call that get from payload on there and set that as a property on this test. And then I can just say, hey, did I get extra value back? Is that a little bit clear, Christoph? Because I can.
I've never seen that before. Yeah.
and this actually works, because if I just change this, I hope it will fail. And of course it failed because we have set extra value. So let me run through it again.
Yeah.
So what I first do is set a callable here. I'm setting it ready, that when given a job, it will call get from payload inside that job. And where does this job come from? It comes from the job itself. Who reads that closure, and it will pass itself to that closure.
That's funny.
That's basically how it's
funny
done.
And clever, yeah.
And yeah, you should also mention for those that are still a little bit confused, that this dispatch here, there's like no real queue behind the scenes. Laravel's default queue is actually sync. So this all happens sequentially. It's not that this actually puts something on like a real queue where you have to wait to it. This is all synchronous. But it actually uses like the same logic as if we are going to put it on a real queue.
Yeah.
And by this way, I've not tested anything about the implementation, but I've just tested the effect. And here I have some extra tests, so it will not blow up if nothing is set. So in this test, I haven't set anything that extra that should be used, but I'm going to ask extra, so then we should get null back. And here we do the same things for models. So in my tests, I actually have like a test model here. That's maybe also interesting to see. So something that I usually do in my tests when I need to use real kind of classes, I have like a test classes namespace where I put these things in. And in the test case itself, so this is the base test case, I actually set up like an in-memory database. So this is something that I updated fairly recently, Christoph. Maybe you've seen the old version where I set like an entire configuration here ready that does like the in-memory stuff. But I think it was from a tweet of Marcel who said like, hey, there's already a testing configuration. So here I say like, just by default use a testing configuration, which is an in-memory database, SQLite database. And here we just do like an inline migration. You can actually just do this, just execute this code, and that will actually migrate the database. And then I have just a little test model. And this test model that is just a basic model with nothing on it, and it'll just work. And yeah, I can use that in my test as well. So I can basically just create a model with a name. I prepare my little closure that will be executed in the job. I add that model to the job. I dispatch it, and here I say like, yeah, this will be executed after this one is executed. So the value from inside job will be the model. And here I just grab in to that model. I ask the name, and that name should be my model name, which I've seeded here. So if I change this again, that should fail. And that is basically all there is to it. I think actually that the testing part is more interesting than the actual package itself. And this is like a technique that, yeah, I've used several times, where I just set things ready statically on the job class for other classes to use. But by doing it this way, this test can reach in and see what the value is inside of other things. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's like a name for this technique, but I think it's pretty handy.
You come up with one, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, poor man's mocking or something. I don't know, something with poor like man in there.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You began with a very, very simple package, very simple thing that you did. The code to make it work was kind of already given from James, and still it was, still a lot of work to make it work, but also to test it in general. So even for the small things.
The hardest work was actually, or the most time I spent was with a bug in Laravel itself. So this code, and also Laravel's code, and also the code from James, it works in Forge, but in a general Laravel project, it didn't work. There was actually a bug in Laravel, and James helped me hunt down that bug even. This package hasn't been released yet, because let's see. Yeah, I've actually fixed the bug in my vendor directory, but the fix in Laravel will be tagged today. So that will be like the minimum required version, because that's what you need in order to make this work. There was something wrong with the merging of, if you add something to the payload, in some cases that didn't work correctly, and that has now been fixed. So I think that is where the most time was spent, because I thought I'm doing something wrong. But in this case, it doesn't happen in a lot of cases. But in this case, the framework was wrong. But I'm glad that James helped with correcting this.
Yeah, very nice of him. And good that you found this bug, because good for them too.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite amazing that there's still a bug in there, because at this point, how many times will the queuing code of Laravel have been executed worldwide? Like billions of times.
About that.
Yeah, he was a little bit lucky. He had a day off, so I didn't. He didn't have to look at it. But for James, I shall say some good words for him. He found it pretty quickly what the problem was.
All good guys at Laravel.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, Christoph, I think, look at the time. I have a little timer here. It's like 95 minutes, 40 seconds. I was saying that we should keep it like at about an hour or something, and I think we land there perfectly. Yeah. So thanks for coming on and showing us your stuff. It's pretty interesting. I hope that Caleb will see it and be a little bit inspired by your work there. And maybe if we work on
your tools.
Yeah, my pleasure. And maybe if we
yeah,
work
we
on
can do
something
this.
else, maybe we can do some,
Yeah.
sometimes in the future as well, if we create more packages.
Yeah, so probably your next package will be released in 3 or 4 hours, and for me, we maybe have to wait for another 6 months or something like that. But then I'll contact you again, and we can do this again.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll do other streams as well. We need to do like a casual artisan call
That's
soon
true.
as well. We'll pick a date after the stream. Okay, Christoph, that was it, I guess. Is there anything else that you'd like to share on the stream, or are we good to wrap up here?
I'm happy. Thanks everybody for watching, and yeah, let's see you another time.
Okay, bye-bye everybody, and until the next time.
Bye.
Let's click this end broadcast button. It's red. Do you really want to do it? Yes. Bye-bye.